Alright, welcome to my advanced engines. I'm just going to show you what I've been up to for the past semester, pretty much, and what I've managed to get done, what I didn't. And right off the bat, we are in my main menu screen. That's right, I've been working kind of on a main menu screen. I mean, at the moment, it only works with a mouse. It fully works as in, like, press exit, it will ask you if you want to quit, if you don't want to. If you do, exit the game. Settings wise, you get to set all the settings pretty much. The best thing is they apply. So once you go back into settings, they stay and they actually affect your game. So whatever you set here, that will stay and affect your settings. And as we press start, the game will load the level, and we are automatically greeted into this level. Straight off the bat, you can see that you spawn off without any turret. Currently, I have a default weapon, but just don't use it since I was testing a lot, trying to fix out all the bugs. And so the default turret will be the free burst cannon. Just a few minor tweaks, pretty much, since I do want the default cannon to be just its own weapon. So it'll be different compared to this one. If I start off, just demonstrate this weapon, I guess. Actually, I'll just talk briefly about my menu. So you saw the main menu. The game also has a pause menu, which you can either pause with the P on your keyboard or with the start button or the option or button on your Xbox or PS4 controller, depending on what you have. So again, exit to main menu. That brings you back to main menu. Start game again. Press the start button. Unfortunately, I do not have settings implemented for the pause menu. That's something I'll be working on, most likely over the holiday break. But you do have the resume button working, and you can press again to activate it. Moving on to the actual gameplay of the stuff. Most likely want to talk about my HUD. HUD is very basic. You have health and armor. Both are customizable depending on what tank you equip. So at the moment I have 3 tanks. You have light, medium, and heavy. At the moment we are in a heavy tank, since that's why you have 500 health and armor. Currently, I think that this tank has the most health. And if I just stop here and open up my tanks, so if I show you, this tank has 0.75 speed. So this is the medium tank. Lightweight, this one has 0.2, and this one has 0.15. And if I open up the blueprints and show you the health, once again, the health, that's for the heavy. These are all the pretty much health and armor stats that you get to play around with each tank class. So again, there we go. That's the lightweight. And this is the medium. So the 3 different tanks have 3 different healths and armors, depending on what you choose. That can all be selected. If I show you, that can all be changed in the game mode section. There we go. So here you select what class you have. In the future, next semester, when I'll be building a selection menu, that will be connected to the selection menu HUD, and that will, whatever you change, that will effectively change this. So if I type in light tank, here it is. Change that, compile, let it wait, play the game, start, And here you are in the light tank. As you can see, 150 health, 75 armor. I wanted that so the lightweight will be the fastest, but I'll have the least of both when it comes to health and armor. So players have some type of variation of when it comes to the tanks. Moving on to the weapons. So this is my free burst. Basically, it shoots 3 bullets and then it stops. Again, it displays the name and the ammo current, and ammo max. To reload your weapon, you press square. Reload your weapon. What I like about this is it reloads the amount of bullets that the current clip is missing. So it's a fancy reload. It will reload the missing bullets, basically. It won't replace all 35 bullets. It'll just replace the missing. So if I shoot 3 bullets, it'll replace the 3. That's all. And once you get to 0, it'll stop shooting. Here we have my charge cannon. Again, you hold it for about 2 seconds, it shoots. Hold it, and it shoots. This is something I've been finding myself going back to and changing. Before it was charge time was 3 seconds, I believe. I've changed it down to 2 since 3 seconds is a bit too long. So, if I actually show the weapons, maybe. So, charge gun. Alright, so it's very basic. So basically I have a base weapon where everything gets inherited from. So this is the rotation movement, which is located on my base tank, and that just gets... Not my base tank, this is the base rotation, which is located on the base weapon, sorry. And basically I'm just inheriting that into all my turrets. It just saves me time, basically. Same goes for the fire buttons. Fire buttons are located on the base weapon as well, which are then located on my base tank, if I'm correct. Base tank. Event graph. There we go, turret rotation. And that is also located in the player controller. There it is. And rotation. Basically, all the movement for all the tanks, the main HUD widget, the pause menu, the inventory, the weapon fire, that's all located in my player controller. Simplistically put in, anyone can use that, any player. Any player can pause my game, any player can exit my game, any player can start my game. So going back to the charge gun. So once I fire, it inherits from the base weapon, and then I do all the fancy stuff. Again, for the charge, I use the timeline, then I clamp it, and then it sets the current charge, and then it checks if anything's above 1. Greater or equal to 1. If it's true, fire release, and then it deducts from current ammo. That's basically the it takes away 1 every time, or whatever I set it to. Currently that's at 1 since it only fires 1 bullet. And here is again is charging. It's just a simple branch checking the current charge. If it's greater or equal to 1, then do what you gotta do. You get to this is where you set the play rate. Here you get to determine how fast the weapon charge for that period. So it currently takes about 1 second when it comes to the firing speed. It's something I find myself going back to and tweaking, but again, this current weapon is work in progress. It functions, it shoots, it damages. I'll just demonstrate actually. If I go back this ramp, and give a nice shot. There you go, 3.5 damage. each weapon will have its own damage output, which you can also customize. And then that's another thing I'm working on, which is tanks are able to go up ramps. Next is the fully automatic cannon. Again, it shoots, and as you can see, sometimes that's one thing I found, the glitches with this weapon. The bullets, sometimes the projectiles, they bounce back, which it's something, I guess it's to do with collisions. It's something I'm working on, but all projectiles damage the tanks. This is pretty much just a just remade code from the free burst. Instead of it doesn't do free burst, it just goes fully automatic. Laser. This by far is probably my most complex weapon, since this is a line trace, and then it's a dynamic line trace, so whatever it hits, it adjusts its length. I can set the beam. The beam is constant. The one issue I found is that the ammo, it doesn't stop firing once it hits 0. It keeps on going to minus. That's not find something. I find that kind of an issue, since I can't fix it. I've tried multiple things. I tried clamping it. Doesn't seem to like that. But the good thing is, once it hits 0, if I get to 0 and I stop firing, it won't fire because it's out of bullets. It's just the fact that for some reason it just doesn't want to start firing once it hits 0. And if I show you this weapon in my blueprints, here it is. So again, total rotation is inherited, same as the fire weapon. Again, I'm doing the current ammo check as a branch, which works the second you hit 0 and release the trigger, but it doesn't stop the weapon from firing once it hits. You just have to release the trigger to fix it. So the laser works, so it's just an emitter. It's an effect. It's pretty much just, there we go, a particle system component that I created. And I set the visibility for it. Once I press it, the visibility, the smoke effect is just the basically fancy stuff on a turret. Once you spin around, it just gives off that smoke. But the laser is set to visible once I press it, goes into the gate, goes through to the line trace, which then it checks this. This here is the beam distance. So here's my fire point. Checks the world location, so it depends on where I rotate. It'll rotate with it. And here I get to determine my beam distance. So at the moment it's 1500, which goes to the end of the line trace. Here where it gets a bit more fancy. So here I set the start beam source point, so which is at the beginning of my fire point, which again updates depending on where I rotate. And at the end, after that, I do a branch to see if I hit something. If I did, if true, set beam endpoint, again for both pretty much, but this one doesn't go anywhere. After that, it just stops. Here, if it is true, if I hit something that can take damage, apply the damage. And after you apply the damage, apply pretty much the particle effect of it hitting. And then you get the fancy text showing, and this is where it deducts the ammo pretty much. Again, it takes away by 1, but because the beam is constant, it literally takes the ammo very quickly off. Damage-wise, it's ammo divide, so I have damage-wise, it's damage divide. Actual damage is set to 1, and I divide it by 6, because the beam fires so quickly and it damages the player so quickly, it was very hard to make it fair and playable. That's why you get this as a customization for your tank. And again, all the stats for the weapon are in here. You get to customize anything, pretty much. Even the gun name, which will be displayed in the game dynamically, and that changes with the inventory, as I would say. Here we go. So left shoulder, right shoulder changes up and down the inventory, and it flickers through. Go. Again, if I go down this ramp, if I pick a different tank to start off, so if I stop this, go in here, and again, change it to my heavy tank, compile this, and then play, so I can show you the pickups. So we'll go down this ramp, and here are my 2 pickups. This is my armor, so once I drive over it, it adds on. Adds 25. Adds 25, and that's it. You can drive over it, it'll pick it up, but it will not add. It's capped at 125. That's the important part, so you can't just keep on going and have infinite armor. Same goes for health. Drive over it. There's auto regen on both, but you can drive over pickups to pick up health and armor, as you can see. And again, health will be capped as well at 500, depending on what tank class you have. That will have the cap. If it gets to 500, it's 500 now. Drive over the pickup. They didn't pick it up. Again, very simple, very basic, but it's there for the player. Currently, I'm working on having ammo pickups. That functions pretty much the same way as the pickups with the health, but I want it so it affects all the weapons. Like, there won't be any different pickups. There'll be one single ammo pickup, and depending on your current equipped weapon, which will be the fruit inventory, it'll add ammo to that weapon. It won't add ammo to all the weapons, it'll just add ammo to that current weapon. So if you want to have, let's say, ammo on a laser, but you have a cannon, freeburst cannon equipped, it'll only add ammo to that weapon. That's all it is. Another thing I'm working on is the camo ability. Let me just get into a bit of shade. So if I press E, because it's currently binded to E, that's the camouflage ability. I call it cloak. And then if you press E, give it a minute, okay, it goes back. So that would be an ability you pick up as well for the player to pick up. And I'm just finding myself trying to balance how long it lasts and actually implementing the whole pickup thing. But apart from that, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and the actual health for the other tank is displayed on the top left corner as well. So depending on how many tanks I add, actually just demonstrate that quickly. So if I go into my tank game mode and change the max player count to 4, this is actually the max player count for this game. I've gone ahead and set up the actual max player count, so you can't go above 4. It's capped at 4. There we go. So there's 4 players. As you can see on the top left, 4 different health stats. And at the moment, they're not damaging because the actual weapons don't have the guns equipped, so it's kind of harder the collisions to get them. But there we go. Kind of hits them, kind of doesn't. But once it does damage them. I'm out of ammo. And then again, for the camera's dynamic, so depending on how far the players are, the camera will either zoom out or zoom in. At the moment, we are fully zoomed in. The more we drive out, as you can see, it zooms right out to make sure that all players are able to see each other in the game. The game is going to be like top down, but more angled, so you can see more than just the top of your tank. I'm maybe going to adjust a bit of the camera angles, but at the moment, that's what it is for now. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole progress I've got overall. I even got some training dummies. That's just for testing weapons, basically purpose. That will most likely get either replaced with AI bots, which I am planning to add, or it'll just get removed from the world and just left in the files. But that's pretty much it. That's been just a general walkthrough of what progress I've made in my advanced engines. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.